Take a look at this picture and ask yourself how you feel. This picture was taken by a South African photojournalist called Kevin Carter. After just a few days of that picture being taken, has already been sold to the New York Times and has achieved a prestigious award. And after 10 years of hard work, it all paid off for Kevin Carter with just one snap. But nevertheless, I still felt an overwhelming feeling of conflict. A pit got dug in my chest, and it got filled with guilt, shame, and anger. But from those pit of emotions, one question rose. And that question was, why? I used that question as a torch to guide me through the issues of food security and sustainability. But no matter where I looked for the answer, it always came back to the root of the problem. But on my way down to the root, I found some reasons of why we're dealing with this terrible issue here today. I found out that food is being wasted for the simple reason of it being unappealing or unsellable. One company within the UK has been reported to waste 120 million meals yearly. That's 60 metric tons of food. Mostly because that food will be pre-packaged, set to live for just 3 days, and if it doesn't get sold, it gets thrown away. But that's just the tip of the iceberg. Let's go even further. We have Russia reacting to an embargo from major suppliers, such as the United States, Germany, and Norway. This embargo means that no food from these countries may ever enter the border without it being seized and destroyed, and it will never be sold or distributed to the public. But instead, they will incinerate and destroy on site. They will roughly destroy 300 tons of food per capture for the sake of political and economical reasons. But are we really food insecure? Throughout my journey for the answer, people always came up to me that they thought the question of food security was that Earth was unable to feed its 7 billion inhabitants. Simply, they thought Earth didn't have enough food. So I asked myself, is this real? Is Mother Earth unable to feed all of its children? So I set out to find which proposition is true. Is Earth unable to feed us? Or is it us who should learn how to eat? It's actually so easy to explain, even I can do it. So let's do some simple maths together and figure it out. As you can see, I'm not the best example of somebody who follows a healthy diet. But if you do know somebody who follows these nutritional guidelines, they all know that the two important products for a nutritious diet is 900 grams of meat and 700 grams of rice. But how about how much we consume and produce? We produce roughly 680 million tons of rice yearly, but we consume 475 million tons yearly. As for meat, we produce 325 million tons, but we consume so little as 65 million tons yearly. And the total surplus of these two major products is 465 million tons of food. So can we still say that we are food insecure? Can we still say that Earth is unable to feed us? I personally don't always like to look at numbers. Sometimes I like to see things how they are. And I hope you do too. That's a truck of apples being wasted and dumped because of political differences. They are willing to use food as bargaining chips at the expense of others. And if we keep turning the blind eye to the action of others, but are still willing to point the finger and call them wasteful or inhumane, it might just be as bad as the person who's driving that truck. But not all fault is the world governments and powers. Even you and I waste as much food as they do. It just simply became ingrained in habit and has become second nature. We We demand so much food from the food industry that they have to meet our demands. Let me give you a real life example. Ramadan is my favorite holiday. Even if I have to go through a scalding hot day, I know when the sun goes down, we're eating like there's no tomorrow. And I started to notice during this time especially, we always cook more food than we need. It's mostly that I realized that the person who's cooking the food is usually fasting. So they will unconsciously make more food than they have to. This can be an issue. If you look at family gatherings, especially during this time, it is normal, if you have 20 guests, to prepare for 50, for the sake of looking generous, or oftentimes just to show off. Well, sadly, even that food will end up getting wasted and thrown away. And if you do this at the scale of the country, you can see how impactful it can be to food availability. But let's step away from the doom and gloom and the feeling that we can't do anything. There are still ways that we can fix this issue. If we can't persuade the capitalistic system to change, maybe you and I should change just a little bit. It can be as simple as having more reasonable portions. Or when you go to the supermarket, pick up that failed lemon or that hideous orange, because nevertheless, it will still make great juice. And on a different scale, support your local NGOs and charities, especially the ones who will collect foods from banquets and weddings, who are willing to repackage those leftovers and redistribute them back into the needy. And if you're in a restaurant, don't overorder for the sake of overfilling the table and having dishes as decoration. And with such simple changes to your lifestyle and consumption patterns, you can make an impactful change with just one snap. Before I leave you here today, let me finish Kevin Carter's story. After 4 months of that picture being taken, Kevin Carter committed suicide. It was because he felt helpless. It was because he felt as if he was a bystander. It was because he felt that if he was getting awarded and getting prizes for the misery of others. So the question to all of us here today, are we going to be bystanders and do nothing? Or are we going to simply kill ourselves as Kevin Carter did? Or are we going to change, be rational about our food consumption and survive? And let live our brothers and sisters who are in food insecure countries, who are in desperate need of our help. And I can finally raise my torch high in hopes of lighting your torch, and from yours into the next, and into the next, in hopes of inspiring you all here today to take action.
أقول لك والله أحمد تفخر بنفسك، والله شرفنا نتشرف فيك، والله للأمانة حتى اللي كان أول واحد اللي هو موسى نفس الشيء للأمانة يعني.